Welcome to today's edition of Mainstream with Harpreet Toor. आप सबनों प्यार भरी सत श्री अकाल, नमस्कार, आदाब and shalom. Excuse my voice a little bit. I have a kind of like little bad throat and not really runny nose. It's not coming, but stuffy nose. But I'm here. The weather, it's lightly raining outside. Before we expect more rain tonight and maybe tomorrow morning. And we are heading into Thanksgiving, and this Thanksgiving actually is like every other day. Thanksgiving, something happens, and the travelers, they should be careful about where they are going, the flights and cancellations and everything. There are a lot of things which you can see, but at the same time, few good things as compared to last year. The gas prices are comparatively down. The turkey is a bit cheap, for those people who cook turkey at home and eat. And, those people, whatever about this Thanksgiving is said out there, the Britishers coming in claiming that they came in as a pilgrims and they were persecuted, blah, 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 all those, pictures being painted about why they came here and how they came here. History takes its own course and own time to make the judgments. And right now there are a lot of things happening, and including that also a movement to rename the Columbus Day as Indigenous Day over here in the United States. And also, I was just reading a little bit about, habitually I always look for a few things, read about the things and try to see what's going on, what's not. Interestingly, like they say, Vasco da Gama discovered India, Columbus discovered America. They did not discover it. Discovery is when you find out something which was never there, which did not exist. They just came here and they found this new land, which was not on their, because those were the people who always used to go out on the ships, and they will go around African continent or within Africa and stuff like that. And somehow, but the name was given, discovered America and discovered blah, India and blah, 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 whatever it is. But yes, they did not discover either India or America, but there was one thing for sure, that the original residents of America, they were persecuted and they were killed in millions by the settlers, which is white people at that time, Caucasians, and now which I'm definitely going to touch down, like I do in my show all the time, about this 2024 election and what's going to happen, what to expect. So again, what I like about Thanksgiving is this is the day when, for a change in America, everything is quiet. It used to be that totally all the stores are closed, but now, then and there, somebody opens up some shop, but not that many shops. So this is an occasion where the families get together, and when my wife was around, we always used to have Thanksgiving at our house, except once we went to Cleveland where my sister-in-law lives, and we did it over there. But otherwise, we always had it here in New York. And again, it is something, if we really look at seriously, a get together for the families where doesn't matter what you have within family, their personal politics, their personal grudges or whatever. But one thing is there, that this is the time where you can get together, sit down, and at least, meet each other, and next generation also stays familiar within the family. And if the family don't meet, then that familiarity sooner or later it dissipates and it's gone. So happy Thanksgiving in advance to all the people, whether you eat turkey or you don't eat turkey, whether you're a vegetarian, non-vegetarian, or vegan. Enjoy this Thursday, which is something which I personally will say that very important for me to discover this Thanksgiving as a day or a holiday when we got together as a family, or we used to get together as a family. We still do. It's not that we don't, but it is not the way it used to be. And you never know, we may go back to same routine again in the near future. That's what I'm looking forward to. Now coming to the cricket, India lost in the final. You know, it's very easy to criticize when you lose the game. Nobody is giving them the credit for winning those 10 games, which was amazing, no doubt about it. But in the final, yes, they lost to Australia. And yeah, it hurts, especially to those fans who are crazy about it. I'm interested in cricket to some extent. I'm not a cricket player because I'm actually a football player. That's so-called soccer, comes from that family. But yes, you know, when I was in Patiala, we used to have a cricket club, Panthers Club. And I still remember the person, Narendra Singh, we used to call him Nindi. He was the guy who actually will scout around in Patiala. And I'm talking about 72, 73, 74, 75, maybe 72 also. No, not 72. 73, 74, 75, those 3 years, and 76 also. This Narendra / Nindi, he will go around within Patiala and he will look for the players who are good at batting, who are good at bowling, who are good at fielding, and then who is a good wicket keeper, and we will create a team. We will try to pick up 16 players out of the whole Patiala at that time. And we named that club as a Panthers Club, and we used to go at that time, the money, a lot of people even did not have the literally the bicycle. I'm not talking about the motorbike, I'm talking about the regular bike. And so if they don't have that, they cannot afford that, so naturally they cannot go around. We used to fund two things. One, we'll send them to play one-day tournament. Those tournament will take place either in Chandigarh or it was Khanna on the other, you know, within 2 hour distance, traveling distance. And the most important games which we played, they were with the DAV College, Chandigarh. And one of the tournament, I still remember, I will never forget that in my life. We went to play the tournament, and we found out when we were there, our game was against DAV College. We found out that Kapil Dev has been suspended from the DAV College team. Whatever happened, we had no interest in knowing that. But what we were looking for, we were like, okay, somebody offered us that, okay, Kapil Dev has been suspended. If you guys want him to play from your side, he will be more than happy to do it. And we will always lose in the final two at DAV College. So we were like, okay, we'll take him. And while we were, you know, we sent that message, and when Kapil Dev came in, he brought in with him Manjeet Singh. A lot of people don't remember that. Manjeet Singh was another player who was a spinner, who was also part of Indian team for some time. And so Kapil Dev and Manjeet Singh, they played from Panthers Club in that year, and I think it was year 75. I have to definitely check it out, but we're talking about close to like 50 years ago. And yes, when the DAV college found out that they are losing, the umpire started, giving wrong, calling wrong calls. And couple day finally, he got so fed up, he grabbed the wicket, went into the middle of the wicket. Those 3 wickets, those people who are not familiar with the cricket, in case they don't. But then there is also the wicket, that area where there are 2 sides where those 3 wickets are, standing, and the batman bat from one side, the bowler bowls from the other side. He grabbed one of those and went into the middle of that wicket and dug it there, and he said, well, you wanted the game, here you go. And I still remember that next year we did not participate in DAV college tournament, and they were desperate that we should come, and we said no, because if you are always going to do what you always do in the final, we are not interested. So the reason I am saying this thing is that life is such an experience when you are growing up, and you cherish it. I was in touch with Narendra Singh / Nindi for quite some time. Then he moved, I came to United States, and then we lost contact. But there was another third person with us, Sharanjit Singh. He died in 1988, sorry. Very close friend of mine also. I still, when I go to Patiala, go and visit his house, his family. And yes, I do miss those college days like everybody else. That movie, Yaran Naal Baharan, Punjabi movie, if you haven't seen it, you should see that movie. It's a very interesting college experience, which is covered in that movie. Well, going back to that cricket, which we were talking about. So I have to give a credit to Indian team for winning those 10 games and staying on the top. Yes, they lost in the final, but you have to have some idea how much pressure is there when 1.3 billion people, they are looking at you. They are watching how you walk, how you talk, how you sneeze, how you cough, who you are calling, why you are calling, where you are staying, what you are eating. All that's a tremendous pressure. And I'm talking about just the Indian population. Now on top of that, then you have expatriates, like they say, the people who live in other countries, and they are crazy about cricket. My son's father-in-law, he is also one of those cricket fans. Whenever I go to their house, they always have the cricket on, always. And I'm one of those where in my family, my younger son, we are into football / soccer. And, last year we were in Doha, Qatar, and we did watch a game live. We watched 2 games on that out there where they have set up those special big screens. And of course, we watched another 2-3 games in the hotel where we stayed. So that sums up that we should actually be proud of our team, what they have achieved, not what they lost. Once again, from me, congratulations to Australian team for becoming the world champions for the 6th time. But at the same time, congratulations to Indian team to achieve those 10 undefeated games to reach to the final. Yes, and Virat Kohli being declared as man of the tournament. Now coming back to some of the other happenings, which is happening. We are all watching in horror what is happening in Gaza. Okay, everybody has forgotten about what is happening in Ukraine in the meantime. We will talk about that. We will touch on that also. The Israeli forces, IDF, Israel Defense Forces, they are taking the journalists as part of their, units, and they are taking them only where they want them to go. Okay. First of all, let me start with this thing. It was a horrible, horrible, horrible thing to happen that Hamas attacked and killed 1,200 civilians. It was 1,400 originally, but now it is 1,200. And out of those 1,200, how many got killed by Israel itself, their forces, while they were countering Hamas attack? We don't know yet. Would we know that? Probably. When? I don't know. Now coming down to the second part. Israel attacked Gaza, destroying, making target of civilians intentionally. That is what definitely looks like. They are giving, their own explanation that Hamas was hiding there, Hamas was hiding there, Hamas was hiding there. For me, this is how I will say this thing, which we need to look at. Okay? When you control the media, you look at what kind of message you want to send out, the context of the message, and what you want the viewers or listeners to hear. Now, as far as Gaza is concerned, there is no power, no communication, no nothing at all. Even they are doing surgeries or emergency operation, what they have to do with using the solar power to charge their cell phones, and with that light they are doing stitches and everything. Okay. On the one hand, yes, it was barbaric action by Hamas. But on the other hand, where you have 14,000 people killed, and we don't know how many out of those 14 were actually the soldiers from Hamas, we have no idea. And that is not acceptable either. If we don't accept the first act, we should not be accepting the second act. Always, 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 when you set a standard, you stick to your standard. You don't go below that standard. But then again, there were lapses. Israel intelligence was known till this attack happened that nobody can play around with them. Okay, remember Suleiman from Iran's forces, good forces, he was killed by a missile when he got out of the plane, got into his car. And he actually traveled back from Middle East, and what flight he took, everything was in place, but he was not on that flight. And when he got on the flight, immediately the green light was given that, okay, he's on the flight, he will be out there, and he must be eliminated. And the authorization to eliminate him was given by the President Trump, the then president, of course, who still claims he is the president. He never lost the election, and he's running again. I can't figure that out. Maybe if you can, let me know. So that intelligence, just imagine how precise it was. It was from Israel. And over here, they are claiming they had no idea that they are getting attacked. Well, I have to take it with a grain of salt, like they say in English, if they didn't know. Okay? The second thing which we should not also forget is that Netanyahu / Bibi, as he is known as a nickname, had he not been a prime minister, he would have been behind the bars, because there is a judgment against him in Israel court. And that was one of the reasons that he wanted to change the laws and bring in the judges under whatever those changes, which he postponed. and then he was trying to bring it again. And I'm pretty sure that under this whole Hamas thing, he may push it through the parliament. And then, ultimately what happens, oh, this is the law of the land. And we are following the law of the land. The law of the land says that while he is the prime minister, he should not be tried. He should not be behind the bars, or whatever it is. How much that thing played a role into Bibi's mind when he decided to go full force in Gaza. First it was North Gaza, right now he is saying that he is going to go into South Gaza also. Tunnels, yeah. I'm not saying they did not dig it. They probably did. They definitely did, because I see the tunnels in the pictures. But where, for how, and what, I don't know, because no journalist is allowed in there. And the information which I try to gather, it is some information is out there, but I, as a person, am not really willing yet to make up my mind one way or the other that how vast that tunnel stuff is within Gaza, which was, which is being targeted by Israeli forces to eliminate. Now, the ceasefire actually has been, as you are listening to it, a 4 or 5 day ceasefire has been brokered by US, where some of the Israelis who has been taken as hostage, they will be released. And in exchange, some of the Palestinians who are the prisoners in Israel, they will also be released over the 5 days period. And as we talk, Israel's cabinet is actually working on right now to clear up, to give a green signal to the deal. Now, after that exchange is over, after 5 days, what comes next, we don't know. Because on one hand, we have, Palestinian Hamas. On the other hand, we have Bibi Netanyahu. But also, now let us go a little bit beyond that. What kind of role is Russia playing in there? What kind of role is Iran playing in there? What kind of role is the other nations are playing in there who are aligned with Iran in this thing? Because they always say, oh, Iran is playing proxy games. Every country plays proxy games. Are you kidding? Name me a country which doesn't play the proxy games, except unless you are such a tiny, tiny country where you really don't have that luxury of doing that. So, India does, Pakistan does, China does, Russia does, Israel does, I can go on and on, America, Britain, France, Germany, they all do it. Japan, they all keep an eye on what's going on around their neighborhood and what is probably going to happen, because their interests are, if somebody is trying to do something, so let us destabilize that area within that country first, so that they start looking internally more than doing damage to the other country, which could be, for between Pakistan and India, it is mutual, both countries. For US, the China power expansion of China, where China is and where Chinese want to go, that's another issue. Same way, for Russia, they wanted to take the whole Ukraine. Now they are planning only part of Ukraine. Why? Because, as per the Western media, Russia wanted to have the whole Ukraine. There are people who are already saying Ukraine was always part of Russia. Yeah, Ukraine was part of Russia, but Ukraine used to be an independent country way back So they have their own feelings, their own values like everybody else. Within Russia, Russia is a huge country. So within Russia, they also have ethnic groups. Chechnya was another part of Russia, which was way back. It was really a bad situation over there also. So going back to that, so every country has their own interest, and based on those interests, they play all these games. Now coming to the, before I jump into the local elections, what's going on, there is one thing which I want to bring to the attention of the viewers, which they probably have forgotten. Yasser Arafat, the chairman of the PLO, he actually was poisoned and he died in France. And even though nobody really put any finger on a particular person, but looking at how it happened and the people who probably were behind it, there's no doubt about it that it was the Israeli, mechanism. Those people who are, let me say one thing, okay? Every country has to look at their own interest in their own way, okay? So having said that, now Israel has done a lot of things, okay? And same way, the other nations, they have done their own part to destabilize and defeat Israel and maybe take over the whole territory which Israel has been created in 1948 under United Nations charter. Okay, so Munich was a movie which I have seen, and I would recommend that you guys should also watch that movie. That will explain, and that will explain what happens at a very high level within certain countries, which I was referring to earlier. Okay. Now coming down to American politics, what is happening here? The front runner on Republican side, former President Donald Trump, he has been attacking the judges and the clerks, and he is naming them. And the people who actually worship him, listen to him, some of the people, after listening to him, they have gone to the extent of killing those who he named as the enemies. And his latest enemy for last couple of weeks has been Bill Barr, who actually was his attorney general, and he resigned end of December because he told Trump at that time that he did not see that kind of, voter fraud, which he's talking about, that would have given a different result. Trump knew from day one that even before the election took place, he knew that he is going to lose the election. So he was already planning. I have mentioned before, and I'm going to mention again, that one of his mentor was one of the attorney who actually was brainchild of McCarthyism in 1950s in the United States. And so Trump's philosophy has always been never admit that you are wrong, delay, go to the court, challenge it, and just drag it on. But in the meantime, put up your narratives. And those people who believe you, trust you, they will buy your narrative. So he has already declared Bill Barr to be persecuted. Mark Milley, who was the chief of armed forces, appointed by Trump himself, who actually did walk with Trump also to the church, that famous picture in front of the church with Bible in his hand. Basically, to me, Trump will do everything to stay in power and grab the power. he did not like Mark Miley because he thinks that he should have put in the martial law and kept Trump into the White House. Now, the question comes in when we are looking at all this, we have to ask ourselves, because the elections are not that far off. Yes, it is next November, no doubt about it, I understand that. But we as individuals, we need to look at what is democracy. Democracy is participation of the communities in an election where they elect the representatives who create the laws, and those laws are supposed to be followed by everybody. And if there are some issues within the law, then try to change those laws, update the laws as things are moving. We don't, number one, we don't participate in elections much, especially Punjabis. You declare elections today back home in India, in Punjab, everybody goes bananas. But over here, a lot of people even don't know that there is a debate and who is debating and what the debate is about. There may not be much substance within the debate, but need to know that who were the people on the stage who debated. So, he is already saying that his next term, based on what he has said so far, is going to be more dictatorial, which means it's going to be more dangerous to minorities, including the people who look like me. And he is already planning to have the areas like intern camps, like they were set up for Japanese during the World War II, even though later on, US regretted it. So, as far as Trump is concerned, he does not regret anything. So, he is already looking at the people who will not disobey him, which means who will not say no to him. Like in his previous term, there were people who drew the line on the sand and they said they will never cross that line. They were either let go or they resigned. And at the same time, like Mike Esper, who was the defense chief, he stood his ground on certain things. A lot of people are floating the idea that, Nancy Pelosi was supposed to call in the home guards and everybody. No, it was not her. That we have to understand the structural way this country works. New York has its own way of operating. LA has its own way of operating. Washington DC has its own way of operating. Seattle has its own way of operating. They have all these things. When we go out for election and there is going to be a change in the charter of the city, which means those rules and regulations, they will be amended to whatever is proposed. And if it passes, then it becomes part of charter. If it is not, then it is not. So, look for that. Number two, what he is doing is he is actually indirectly telling the witnesses and the others that if you come after me, if you went to the court and you took an oath and you spoke against me, once I get elected, I'm going to come after you. My Department of Justice will come after you, FBI will come after you, and whosoever I can send after you, I will send after you, which means those yes men will say, yes, boss, and they will come. Look at Mike Johnson. He went to Mar-a-Lago today to kiss the ring, the new Speaker of the House. Why? Because what he did, that two-step solution to postpone the negotiations where the government is not shut down. There are people who literally worship Trump. They openly challenged Mike that we will not let you pass any other legislation. So he already went to Mar-a-Lago to meet Trump. And we should not forget this thing, that the new Speaker of the House, he is somebody who is evangelical Christian, and he believes, he doesn't believe in separation of church and the government. He believes that the government should actually operate based on what the church says, which means anybody who's not a Christian, who does not, even if you are a Christian but you are not evangelical, you have different values, that doesn't matter. What matters is what evangelical Christians say, and that should be the law of the land. And that's what is really very, very dangerous. That's how I look at it. Now, on the Biden side, everybody's talking about his age. Yes, he's 82. He just celebrated his 82nd birthday. But nobody's talking about what he has achieved and what he is planning to achieve if he gets re-elected. Why? Because if you start talking about what he has achieved, then you will not question his age. And you go on media, and on his birthday celebration, everybody on every net work channels, they're talking about, oh, he's 82, he's 82, he's 82, he will be 83. But nobody talked about what he has done so far during his first election. I was having a conversation with somebody, and when I talked about that, how the FiOS was never there in rural America and now it is going into those parts of America, they were like, what? Because when you live in the city, you have no idea what's happening out there unless you go out or you read about it, what's going on. So we're talking about, right now it appears that the final contest probably is going to be between, again, Joe Biden and Donald Trump. But then in politics, even 24 hours can be a long, long time. So we will see how it shapes and how it goes. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about, what is happening or what had happened previously in Canada, where, Niger was murdered and the Canadian Prime Minister accused Indian government, and Justin Trudeau's visit to India, how it was done and how he was treated, everything was visible. And then, all of a sudden, India totally denied it, and then they were like, we will cut this thing. They told, we will suspend the visas, and they did everything. And that is a typical dictatorial way of first doing something and then denying that we did it. But interestingly, something happened, and that thing actually is where S. Jaishankar, who is the foreign minister of India, he actually climbed down on what he was talking about, that if Canada will provide us the proof, we will follow it. From being, or Canada is accusing us of something which he never did, we will never do it, to this thing. Okay, Ajit Doval, we can expect these things from him. And like I said before, every country does that. Okay, but how they do it, that makes the difference. Russia has its own way, where in England and in Germany, where they actually have treated a couple of people who actually were poisoned by something which at that time that person did not know, but later on, because of that, either they died or the governments over here, the new scientific technologies and drugs, they saved them. But ultimately it pointed to that, okay, Russians did it, but they can't do anything about it. So same way, now S. Jaishankar saying that if India will provide us the proof, we will definitely look into it. So we have to look at that. So that is what is called diplomatically challenging, diplomatically accepting few things, and at the same time denying few things. Okay, so now comes the next step. In my last show, I talked about it. I'm going to talk about it today again. What happened in 80s? A lot of things are still not known. I was listening to something and I ordered that book. If I receive the book by this week, I will definitely talk about that. And that book is written by one of the governor who was the governor of Punjab, appointed by the Indian government when Indira Gandhi was still alive. And it is his views about it. And that brings me to something which is really interesting, that I was having a conversation with one of the gentlemen who actually served at a very high level within Punjab and outside Punjab also. And within his presence, few things happened when he was in charge of that area where the Honorable, Chief Minister Prakash Singh Badal, who passed away earlier, had few things along with other political prisoners. And I always ask him, I said, why don't you write about it? And he is refusing. The reason is he is afraid of his family and future of his kids, even though they all are emigrated to the United States, but still they are afraid. So here I'm talking about somebody who was in the government at a higher level to see all these things happening and then not writing about it, which he is afraid of. That is something, why we see America where we see America is because these people, when they go out and when they write about it, they do write about it. Look at Watergate. Look at the people who wrote about Trump. Look at the people who are talking about Trump. Look at Chris Christie. I personally don't like him. I'm being very honest, not because of his policies, but because he will lie and then he will admit that, okay, you know what? And for him, that's politics. For me, if you are at that level within an administration or you have that kind of position, you should be more as a statesman, not as a, Lallu Panju politician who will say everything to appease everybody. In Punjabi, they say, Har ek nu munde dene. No, you should be taking some stand. Finally, he's talking about how Trump can do the damage to this country if he gets elected again, and there is a probability. Because Joe Manchin just said that he's not going to run for re-election as a senator from West Virginia. And if he runs, he's going to take away the votes from both Democrats and Republicans. The youth is not happy with Biden's Hamas policy. And then we have independent people who are running, the Green Party candidate. And then we also have one of the Kennedy who's running. Okay. That brings me to another question here. In college campuses, there has been conversations, discussions about, Jews and Muslims, including the Sikhs, where we are considered by a lot of people that we happen to be Muslim and we get attacked and getting hurt. There is nothing wrong in having free speech, exchange of idea, till you cross a line where you threaten somebody's life. Like Trump, by announcing Mark Milley, targeting him, that he should be hanged. Yeah, you have the freedom of speech, but you're not the person who should be deciding or saying it. that Mark Miley should be hanged, or Bill Barr should be behind the bars. You should talk about why you differ and why what they did it wrong. Let them explain if they want to. Same way in the college campuses, when we go to extreme, either shutting down the students into a rooms or attacking somebody, that's not acceptable. Same way in Canada, I saw this clip for a moment, one of this Sikh who is threatening that they are going to go to this temple and do the demonstration. Okay, fine. You want to do some demonstration? Do it where it is supposed to be. Why you are not letting the people who go to a Hindu temple to pray, why you want to stop them from praying or going in there? Which means, to me, it shows that you are not really a person who really cares about the Sikhs. You care about you being on the screen, being all over the world. Oh, okay, Harpreet Toor said this thing. Yes. No. That's not acceptable, and it should not be acceptable to anybody. So with those thoughts, those things, there are a lot of things to talk about, including on freedom of speech, which I will touch again next week when I come on the show. And we just watch out, be careful, be safe, be sincere, and respect each other, which is very important. There is nothing wrong in having different opinions and your own views, but there is nothing right to threaten somebody just because that person happens to disagree with you. With that note, till next time, good night and good luck.